Cancer Survivors. Somewhere back there.
All right, welcome back to more great racing. My name is Sean McAfee, otherwise known as Midpack MacAttack. This is the 2024 24 Hours in the Canyon. It takes place out in Palo Duro Canyon outside of Amarillo, Texas. This event is the only simultaneous 24-hour road and mountain bike event in the country. 100% of the funds raised go to further fund the 24 Hours in the Canyon Cancer Survivorship Center. Fantastic benefit, fantastic cause, and the team out there with 24 Hours in the Canyon, Ryan Parnell, the rest of the 24 Hours in the Canyon Survivorship Center staff do such an amazing job with this event. It's by far one of the best events you can go attend in Texas.
Diverse.
Yeah, but that's the good thing. It keeps the riffraff out. The riffraff from finishing it.
So I've been meaning to follow up with you. I've been busy, but did you take any wrong turns? Any issues with navigation? None.
I set my Garmin to like.
So this is my fourth time to compete at the 24 Hours in the Canyon Canyon race. I've done once as a part of a four-man team, once as a geared solo rider, and then this is my second time, I believe, as a solo single speed racer. The start of the race is parade style. That means it's a mass group start with a somewhat neutralized 2.6 mile road section. It'll take you out to the trail. Once you get to the trail, the event takes place on an 8-mile mountain bike trail. And you'll repeat laps on that as many times as you can throughout the duration of 24 hours. The winner will be the person with the most laps after 24 hours is completed. The course itself starts off with some very easy green trail for the first about 4.5 to 6, 4.5 to 5 miles. At around the 6 mile mark, things start getting a little bit more challenging, a little bit more technical and difficult. You're going to have a number of climbs that are a little bit more technically challenging, very steep. It does advance to about a mid-tier blue to a low-tier black level for the final 2 miles of the trail. There were 6 total climbs that I had kind of mentally checked off each time I went out for another lap. 2 of those climbs, I was completely dedicated to walking up those every time. So, every time except for the first lap. The first lap I did climb. The first one, that was a mistake. It ended up costing a lot more energy than it was worth. It was a lot more efficient to dismount the bike, calmly walk it up to the top, remount, and start pedaling again. Saves a lot of energy, kept me from blowing myself up each and every lap. Over 24 hours and 20 laps, that's a lot of effort that I got to save.
I see it's on your left. I'm gonna pass on your right. Thank you.
So how did I do at 24 Hours in the Canyon this year? I spent a lot of time in the preceding months knocking out some really big rides, a lot of miles in the saddle, a lot of hours. I did multiple 8-hour events, or 8+ hour, I should say. There was
On your right.
A couple of 8 hours, one 9 hour, and then of course there was the Wood Ape Ramble, which was one super long 14-hour day. So all that was leading up to 24 hours in the canyon, trying to put myself in the best possible fitness to attack that. My goal was pretty lofty. Wanted to win the single speed category, and I wanted to reach 200 miles for the event. I did fall slightly short for those goals and ended up taking first place for my single speed age group, which was 35 to 50. I took first place there with 20 laps, but I did come in second place overall for single speed and fifth place for all solo riders. So second place for single speed overall. Our winner was Randall Morgan with 23 laps. I just could not catch him in those final wee hours. I also didn't meet the 200-mile goal. I settled at 156 miles according to my Garmin, but I think that the final results had me at 172
I'm gonna pass you, buddy.
miles.
Well, just let me buy
I'm really
real
happy
quick.
with the results overall.
Just
I
let me
did not
buy.
meet either one of those goals, but things happen, and
man.
I think the overall effort, the planning, preparation,
All
how
you gotta do
everything
is left
played
up
out
like half a second.
was
I'm right
incredibly
behind you.
good. I'm very, very proud of what we put together and what I put together
It's been safe.
for that event. It went really, really well, so
Don't worry about
pretty
me.
happy with that.
Israel right behind you. Whenever you're ready. I'm gonna play a little leapfrog here.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Hunter, let me sneak by you real quick.
So bike setup
Thanks,
for
buddy.
24 hours in the canyon. I did ride a single speed for it. As you can see in the center lower corner of the screen, I've got a little graphic there. It says 3420. That's what I geared. It was, I think, probably a perfect gear for the race. I probably could have gotten away with a slightly
Gents, if I
bigger
can squeeze by
gear
one of
at a
y'all.
3419, but
Or both.
I believe that I probably would have spent some extra effort that really didn't pay back off.
Got it.
And over
Thank you.
such a long race,
Thank you.
that many hours, I think having a slightly easier gear was definitely the right call. There were a couple of climbs, especially during
I'm gonna
those
squeeze by on your
midnight
left.
hours, that 3420 was still
Appreciate you.
feeling pretty hard and heavy. So at 3419, while I'm sure I could have pushed it, it was probably a better decision to keep it easier at 34. So I did put my Garmin Rally pedals. Those are power meter pedals on the bike. I love these things. One of the best purchases I have ever made for my riding is these power meter pedals. I can swap them in and out of each bike that I have, so I've always got power data available. I love being able to go back and take a look at that in post-analysis, and it also really helps make for a more captivating and engaging YouTube video when I put these things together. Having a little bit of an indication of how hard I'm pushing, I think really does help. So on my bike, it's my Chumba Stella. I did use a set of specialized tires. It's a ground control 2.4, I believe, on the front. I'm sorry, 2.35 on the front. So a specialized ground control up front and a specialized fast track 2.25 in the back. Roughly, I had about 19 to 22 PSI in both of those tires. I went a little bit heavier than I probably had to. There's a lot more vibration than I probably needed, but I went a little bit higher on the PSI,
Thank you.
air pressure, so that if I did get one of those cactus needles or a thorn or something in the tire, I just had a little bit of extra pressure to help fill those holes or fill any punctures and keep myself running. The other alteration that I made to the bike was I put a set of bar ends on the interior of the handlebars. They almost run kind of like a set of small aero bars, and I absolutely love this change. It made for a great alternative hand position where I could very easily move my hands from the outside on the grips, the inside of those bars, and it was really just a great way to relieve some of the pressure on my hands. So I had a little bit less pressure on my hands, but I still had all the control that I needed for the easier sections of the trail. So anytime that we were on a really, just straight, narrow, easy section of trail, I would try to use those. If we were on the road section in between the exit of the trail and picking up the trail again at Lighthouse parking lot, I would typically use those the alternative hand position quite frequently. Really a big fan of that, and it's probably something I'll keep on the bike going forward because I do love having that kind of arrow body position available. So I think it was a great change and something I will definitely be keeping on the bike for use. Finally, on the bike, I did have a small top tube bag, and that's from our DFW series sponsors over at Arundel Bicycle Products. Fantastic top tube bag. I keep all my nutrition in there so it's easy to access and easy to refill.
Thank you. Got one more following me. If you get a chance, let me swing past you. Thank you. I appreciate it. One more behind me. You mind if I sneak through real quick? Okay. Appreciate you. Got one more behind me.
As far as nutrition goes, I do have that top tube bag up on the top of the bar. But what did my nutrition plan look like? I had a goal of about 80 to 100 grams of carbs per hour, and basically as much hydration as my body could handle without making myself sick. From my experience, this is probably the hardest part of any 24-hour mountain bike race. How do you stay hydrated when the temperature on the camp floor reaches 100 to 110 degrees? It is very, very, very challenging. My goal is about 1 bottle of Gatorade mix per lap, plus 1 bottle of just standard water per lap, and then supplementing the carbohydrates and the liquid nutrition with a single goo packet every single lap. I did really, really good with that plan up until about hour 6, hour 7 during the hottest part of the day, where I think the sugar content and the heat it's a hard combination to mix successfully, and it did catch up to me just a little bit
a young man
at hour 6 to 7 when it was 105 degrees, and I was feeling pretty miserable for a little bit. Once I cooled down a little bit, dumped some water on me, cleaned myself off just a hair, went back out, and the temperature started to drop and I started to feel pretty good again. So overall, really good. Every time I would come into the pit, I would also try to eat at least 100 to 200 extra calories. That could be anything from munching down some bananas, watermelon, grapes, Fritos and bean dip, oatmeal cream pies, Red Bull during the wee hours of the morning, and then some pizza slices around 2 a.m. Overall, I think my nutrition plan worked extremely well. It was definitely a little bit on the sugar heavy side, but I really didn't have much of that gut discomfort or GI distress, except for when it was 105 degrees, and I really think that was more temperature related than it was strictly due to the food content, what I was eating. Lap strategies. Everybody's got a little bit of a different strategy when they go out there and do this stuff. As far as how you approach your pacing, doing your laps, what your pit strategy is. Because I was trying to compete for the first single speed spot, my goal was to minimize the amount of time that I spent in the pits. I figured that the best way to do that is just to keep moving and do back-to-back laps when it was possible. So there were multiple times where I would head out with a full Uswe hydration pack on my back, as well as 2 loaded Gatorade bottles on my frame, and then of course a top tube bag full of GU nutritional products during the way. When I would do that, I would knock out 3 laps back to back. I could get 3 laps in about 2 hours. So 1 bottle of Gatorade mix per hour plus a 70-ounce hydration bladder filled with water was about perfect for 2 hours out on the trail, and it worked out really, really well. So I did that 3-lap back to back plan 3 different times during the race. I did it for laps number 1, 2, and 3. Also laps 8, 9, and 10, and then finally first thing in the morning on Sunday morning for laps 18, 19, 20. I did intend to do that 1 additional time during the middle of the night from that 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. window, but I just couldn't keep myself moving reliably. Wasn't thinking very clearly at that point and struggled to do much of anything. I think everybody does have kind of that issue, but I really struggled during that 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. time frame, and I was not able to get myself up properly prepared to go take on 3 laps back to back. I did take on 2 laps,
Appreciate
but I didn't get the 3rd one in.
Swing by on your right. Thank you. On your left.
My pit strategy was, thanks to my wife Amanda, to Kevin and Nikki Donahue, and the Big Pig racing group that was surrounding our pit area. I had a lot of help. Had people out there keeping my bottles popped off, keeping me fed, and keeping me moving. So that was, the biggest thing was just keeping me constantly going back out and constantly going back out. And I'm really grateful for all the help that these guys gave me. My wife, Donahue's Big Pig racing team, and even some of the other folks. I know Krebs Cycling, they had walked by encouraging me a couple times as well. I'm really grateful for all that, all the support and the help there. The only time that I was really self-sustaining was from about midnight until 5 a.m. That period of time was
I'm in the
rough,
18,
and
35 to 50.
I was.
So we got 4 in my.
We'll get
my
more
age group.
into that, but yeah, that midnight to 5 a.m. was a tough period. I didn't have much help there. Kevin kind of helped a little bit, but he was also feeling some distress at that period and in his own race, and he wasn't able to help out a whole lot during that midnight to 5 a.m.
I'm gonna pass on your right or left, whatever you want. Thank you. Good luck today.
How far in we are?
Say again.
How far in we are?
Halfway. Yeah, half of the lap.
Never done it, so I'm guessing.
Yeah, the whole thing's 8.5 miles. We're at 5.5, and we cut in late because of the parade route.
Gotcha.
So we've done about 3.5 to 4.
Cool, thank you.
You bet.
So, what went wrong? There was a few minor things. Overall, I think it was a really great event, but I did have a couple things that did not go so great. Made some notes on what they were and how I wish I would have handled them, or how I could probably better handle them for the future. First up was the midnight hours were absolutely miserable. Yeah, I think that's something that everybody goes through. But yeah, I had intended to take a bottle of caffeine pills so that I had those available for the midnight to 5 a.m. kind of time frame. I know I'm a morning person. I'm not a night person. So I know after I reach 10 p.m., my body goes into pretty much a hard lockdown. Like, it shuts down, does not want to do much of anything. I really struggle to do anything at all during, after 10 p.m. And that's on a daily basis regardless. I did make it until 1 a.m. And at 1 a.m., that's when wheels started to kind of come off. I don't know how much difference caffeine pills would have made. I was drinking some Red Bull, so I did have some caffeine that was coming in, a lot of sugar that was coming in, but it just was not enough. There was probably a little bit of a sugar crash going on as well. So the caffeine pills possibly could have helped offset that. At about 2 a.m., I had come in from a lap, absolutely feeling pretty wrecked. Kevin Donahue had picked up a pizza, had brought it back over to the pit and set it down. I grabbed a slice, munched it down real quick, grabbed a second slice, ate it real quick, grabbed a third slice and started eating that. And I laid down to kind of stretch my back out while I was eating it. Next thing you know, I'm waking up an hour later, had fallen asleep on the asphalt, and I woke up with a slice of pizza right there on my face. So that was, not ideal. I lost an hour worth of time right there. Got myself back up once I woke up with pizza on my face. Got myself woken up. Went back out, did 2 more laps with pretty much back to back, and they were very slow. Really struggled getting any kind of power out during those 2 laps, but I did get them done and came back. Was planning to do, I think, a third one at that time. I just could not make it happen. And so I came back and I was feeling pretty defeated. I think I had given up. I was a lap and a half, 2 laps behind Randall Morgan, who was the eventual winner of the single speed race at that point.
Oh, thank you.
And
I've worked hard for it.
I'd more or less given up at about 3:30, 4 a.m. I took off my jersey, washed myself off real quick in the bathroom, and put on a t-shirt, and I had basically resigned to, okay, I'm done at 17 laps. As it usually happens, once the first rays of sunlight start peeking over the canyon walls, I was feeling pretty good again. Got back on the bike, forced myself to go back out with the hydration pack and 2 bottles of Gatorade, and knocked out another 3 laps back to back to back. Reached my 20 lap total. I did end at 9 a.m. and I know for a fact I had more in the tank, but I didn't feel like I knew I wasn't going to gain on Randall. Him and I had spoken on lap number 20, and essentially, he was done if I was done, but if I went back out for another lap, he was going to go back out for another lap, and there was no way I was going to make up a 2-lap deficit that late in the event. So I could have gone out for more laps. I did not. I'm okay with that, but what went wrong? I cashed in a little bit too early. I could have stuck it out for at least 1 to 2 more laps just to see what did Randall do. I didn't do that, and that's okay. I'm pretty happy still with how things went up. What went right, because I think that's more important, and this really was a super successful race for me, and the majority of things did go right. My pacing strategy was very, very good. I did not push a whole lot. I actually had my strongest power during the 3 laps at sunset. So lap number 18, 19, and 20 were the strongest, the best power numbers I put out all day long. So that's fantastic that I still had that kind of power after hour number 20 of this race. My nutrition strategy, I think, was really good. It was sugar heavy, and that potentially could have resulted in part of the sugar crash late at night that I couldn't get back up from. but overall, I don't think I would have changed anything. I know really well how much water and fluid I need to stay hydrated during really tough, like really hot temperatures, and I did that. I accomplished that one. I did a good job of taking in enough carbs every hour to keep myself powered, and I think just overall that was really great. The bike setup was fantastic. The gear ratio I chose at a 34-20 was ideal. Really very few complaints overall, other than, you know, I wish, you know, I had either slightly more help staying competent during those midnight hours, or if I had those caffeine pills to keep myself a little bit more competent during those midnight hours, I think I could have done just a hair better. But, you know, again, this is just really proud of this one. This is a huge effort. The total ride time was something like 19 hours and 18 minutes. There were 15 hours worth of pedaling, 4 hours and 17 minutes worth of coasting. So there was, significant amounts of downhill or slightly descending single track that you could just really coast during. Super happy with just how everything turned out. So that is my recap for 24 Hours in the Canyon from 2024. Again, this is such a great event. Thank you again to the 24 Hours in the Canyon staff, to Ryan Parnell, entire Harrington Cancer and Health Foundation, their services that they provide to the community, and just everything that they do to make this such a wonderful and amazingly successful. Thank you guys, and look forward to hopefully doing this again in another year once I forget how miserable that midnight to 4 a.m. time frame.
Got one to pass whenever you get a chance. Thanks, man. Have fun out there, Bike Mart. I gotta get off. Here you go. I'm right here.
That was gonna be nice.
Doing well, man, doing well. One rider to pass you if you don't mind. That's fine. Thank you. Jordan, get my good side. Should have gone with the easier gear.
John.